Today we have a situation that is equal parts hilarious, dystopian, and just incredibly fascinating from an industry perspective. Grab a snack, settle in, because we're diving deep into the massive, unprecedented phenomenon that is Pokemon Pokopia. Now, it was literally broken the retail market so badly that mega corporations are out here acting like your friendly neighborhood eBay scalpers. You had told me a year ago that the highest rated Pokemon game of all time on Metacritic would be a post-apocalyptic life simulator co-developed by the Dynasty Warriors people, where you play as a blank-faced Ditto awkwardly pretending to be a human being. I would have asked what you were smoking and if I could have some. But here we are, it is March 2026, the Nintendo Switch 2 is out in the wild, and Pokemon Pokopia has taken the entire gaming industry by storm. It is selling out absolutely everywhere. Target, gone. Walmart, shelves are entirely barren. The official Pokemon Center website, completely wiped out. And this is where the story gets incredibly spicy, because when supply plummets and demand skyrockets, you expect the secondary market to get a little sketchy. You expect Dave from his basement in Ohio to list a physical copy on eBay for an absurd markup. What you do not expect is for Amazon, yes, the trillion-dollar global logistical empire, to look at the stock shortages and say, you know what, let's just jack up the price ourselves. That is exactly what happened, because Pokemon Pokopia was selling out so hard across the board, Amazon's storefront actually hiked the price of the physical edition up to $80, a full $10 over the brand new standard $70 MSRP for Switch 2 games. They didn't have to do this. It wasn't a mandated price increase from Nintendo. It wasn't a third-party seller trying to pull a fast one. This was directly on the primary listing. Amazon saw the absolute desperation of Pokemon fans trying to rebuild Kanto and realized they had a captive audience. It is the textbook definition of corporate price gouging, and it is wild to see it happen in real time on a standard retail release. Usually retailers eat the shortage. They just put up a little out of stock sign and call it a day until the next shipment arrives. But no, the algorithm, or maybe some executive who really needed to hit their Q1 bonus targets, decided to capitalize on the fact that millions of people are desperately trying to get their hands on this physical game card. And the irony is palpable because the digital version was sitting right there, perfectly available for the regular $70 on the eShop and even on Amazon's own digital code delivery service. For the physical collectors, the people who want that tactile game card or to lend it to a friend later, Amazon was basically holding the game hostage for a premium. Thankfully, the supply chain eventually caught up. Shipments were restocked across major retailers, and the price on Amazon quietly slinked back down to normal as if nothing ever happened, but it sets a terrifying precedent. We already know that gaming devices and hardware are getting more expensive. The Switch 2 itself was not exactly cheap, and we were constantly hearing rumors about the next Xbox or the PS6 pushing the boundaries of what consumers are willing to pay. Major retailers realize they can seamlessly act like scalpers the second a hot piece of software runs low on physical inventory. We're looking at a very dark future for day one physical game buying. Imagine the next mainline game drops, and because you didn't pre-order it 6 months in advance, Walmart suddenly wants $90 for it on day 2. It's a slippery slope, and it just goes to show the absolute stranglehold these massive retailers have on physical distribution. But let's pivot away from the corporate greed for a second, because we really need to talk about why this game is causing such a frenzy in the first place. Why is everyone losing their collective minds over Pokemon Pokopia? First off, let's look at the pedigree. The game was conceptualized by Shigeru Omori, the director of Scarlet and Violet. Apparently, he was looking back at his early days designing maps for Ruby and Sapphire and thought, what if we just let the players build the map? But Game Freak knew they didn't have the chops for a full-blown sandbox builder, so they teamed up with Omega Force. Yes, the studio famous for Dynasty Warriors, but more importantly, the studio that worked on Dragon Quest Builders 2. If you've ever played Dragon Quest Builders 2, you know exactly why Pokopia is a masterpiece. The premise is simultaneously the coziest and darkest thing the Pokemon franchise has ever done. You are in Kanto, but it is ruined. It is a withered wasteland. Buildings are destroyed, Pokemon centers are crumbling, waterways are blocked. Something catastrophic happened here, and you are playing as a Ditto, not a human trainer. A Ditto who has transformed to look like a human, complete with dead, blank, unblinking Ditto eyes, just walking around this apocalyptic landscape trying to put society back together. You suck up materials like some sort of bizarre Kirby hybrid, and you start crafting. You build beds, you build lamps, you build entire habitats. It is a seamless blend of Animal Crossing, Minecraft, and Viva Pinata. And that Viva Pinata comparison is the real kicker here. As you rebuild these areas, you attract Pokemon. There are 300 Pokemon in the game spanning generations 1 through 9, and each one has specific habitat requirements. If you want a Hoot, you need to build an area with lots of darkness. If you want certain fighting types, you might need to place a punching bag next to a bench. And the progression system is so incredibly fresh for this series. You aren't capturing Pokemon in Pokeballs and forcing them to fight gym leaders. You are befriending them, and in return they teach you, the Ditto, new moves to help you traverse and manipulate the environment. You learn Leafage from Bulbasaur to make wild grass grow in barren dirt. You learn Surf from Lapras to cross bodies of water. You basically become the ultimate Swiss army knife of a protagonist using Pokemon abilities to terraform a broken world. The map design is brilliant too. You start in the Withered Wasteland, but as you complete quests like the Yawn Up a Storm quest, you unlock new biomes that are actually ruined versions of classic Kanto cities. You unlock Bleak Beach, which is a destroyed Vermilion city, complete with the wreckage of the SS Anne just sitting there. You unlock Rocky Ridges, which is Pewter City, where you can trade rainbow feathers at the ruins of the museum. You eventually unlock the Sparkling Skylands, which is Celadon City, and then there's Pallet Town, which acts as your ultimate blank canvas sandbox area to just go absolutely wild with your building creativity. The gameplay loop is dangerously addictive. You gather materials, you craft at your workbench, you upgrade your tools, and you slowly watch this desolate, sad world bloom back into a vibrant Pokemon paradise. And the fact that it runs at a buttery smooth 60 frames per second on the Switch 2, even when you have complex habitats and weather systems rolling through, is a testament to how well optimized this game is. It is a technical marvel compared to some of the performance issues we saw in the Switch 1 era of Pokemon games. Right now, the community is fully engrossed in the game's first live event, the More Spores for Hop-Up event. If you have rebuilt the Pokemon Center in the Withered Wasteland, you can jump into this. You basically travel to Dream Islands by talking to Drifloon and showing them these little stuffed doll toys you find around the map. You collect spores on these islands and trade them via Hop-Up for exclusive crafting recipes and furniture. It's simple, but it's getting people logging in every single day, and that's the magic of Pokopia. It doesn't demand your time with stressful competitive ladders or shiny hunting grinds. It just offers you a relaxing, therapeutic space to exist in. You can literally just lay your Ditto in a crafted bed, watch the real-time day and night cycle pass, and listen to the soothing, nostalgic remixes of classic Kanto tracks. It makes you wonder what this means for the future of the franchise. We know the 10th generation mainline games, Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves, are on the horizon. Fans are already theorizing if those games will carry over any of the environmental interaction mechanics we are seeing in Pokopia. Will we see more spin-offs of this caliber? Because let's be honest, for the longest time, Pokemon spin-offs have been a mixed bag. For every Pokemon Snap or Mystery Dungeon, we get a handful of mobile titles that exist just to sell microtransactions. Pokopia feels like a massive AAA prestige title. Feels like the Pokemon Company finally realized that their world is inherently interesting beyond just turn-based RPG battles. People want to live in the Pokemon world. They want to cultivate it. They want to be a weird little Ditto making a nice living room for a Trubbish. And let's not ignore the lore implications. The game casually drops the fact that Kanto can just fall into an apocalyptic state. Fans are tearing apart the dialogue, looking at the rusted boats and the overgrown cities, trying to figure out where this fits in the timeline. Is this thousands of years in the future? Is this an alternate dimension? The fact that Omega Force and Game Freak got away with making a post-apocalyptic Pokemon game is hilarious, but it works so perfectly to give your building efforts a sense of weight and purpose. So where do we go from here? If you're on the fence about Pokemon Pokopia, you can actually find a physical copy at a normal retail price. Do not pay Amazon $80. Seriously, out of pure principle alone, you owe it to yourself to play this game, even if you are burnt out on the traditional Pokemon formula. In fact, especially if you are burnt out on the traditional formula. This is the palate cleanser the franchise desperately needed. It is charming, it is massive, and it respects your time. Just be prepared to look up at the clock and realize that it's 3 a.m. and you have spent the last 4 hours trying to perfectly align a row of bushes so a Scyther will come hang out in your backyard. That is going to do it for today's breakdown. But as always, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments. Have you managed to snag a copy of Pokopia? Have you fallen victim to the Amazon algorithm price hikes? And most importantly, what kind of chaotic asymmetrical houses are you building in Pallet Town right now? Let me know. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay up to date on all things gaming news, commentary, and whatever this industry throws at us next, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out. Until next time, keep building, keep dodging those retail scalpers, and I'll catch you all in the next video. This is Kyler Ray signing off. Peace.